foundationally, what I think love is to want to empower the people we love to have great experiences, to be happy, to be successful. To me, that's the best and the greatest expression of love.
All right, everyone, is interview time here, and we are here with Dr. Marie Thouin. I said her last name correctly. Woohoo! I practice a lot. And Dr. Thouin, also known as Marie, is the author of What is Compersion, the book, but also is one of the leading experts and researchers in compersion, specifically within non-monogamy. And one of our questions here is, wait, can compersion also apply to to monogamy, not just non-monogamy? But we'll get there soon. Also, compersion, everyone, fun word. When you try to write it out, if you go to like dictionary.com, it probably won't be there because I don't know, maybe it's a newer word or hasn't been recognized yet. I've known about compersion since I entered into this field of sexuality, looks like 20 years ago. So it's a word, and we will learn what that means. And so everyone listening, you already heard a little bit about Dr. Marie Thouin in the intro in our the little bio there. But Dr. Thouin, okay, I'm going to stick with Marie. Marie.
She said that's okay.
I know, yes. So Marie said, yeah, we got permission. Can you please tell us and our listeners a little bit more about how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So I was born into a pretty non-traditional family, and my parents did something that no one else did in the 80s, which was to decide to have a child without living together and without being married. So I knew from the beginning that there were many ways that people could create their relationships. So I think that set me off on a track of being sort of uncomfortable with normativities in the world of sexuality and relationships. And when I first encountered mononormativity, which is the assumption that monogamy is the only real valid way to love and have relationships, I just started questioning it right away. I was like, why do people assume that the only valid relationship style is lifelong monogamy? So that was in the back of my mind, or in the front of my mind sometimes for many, many years. And when I decided to study psychology for my PhD, I chose compersion as my topic for my dissertation, because that seemed to really be a linchpin of a philosophy of love I could subscribe to, and that could apply to many relationship styles. So I did my research between 2014 and 2021, and then after that did more research and decided to write a book about it. So that's that in a nutshell. Plus, plus, of course, my dating and relationship coaching practice, which also taught me a lot about relationships. Maybe as much as my PhD, actually.
Maybe more.
Maybe more, yeah.
This is in real time.
Actually,
yeah.
Totally.
Not reading this. I'm actually helping people and in real time. Well, this is such a great topic that surprisingly, we've never breached, or do you say broached, doctor?
Breached. Oh, I'm French Canadian, so don't ask me. English is still my second language, so I would go for either.
I know, yeah.
Covered.
Writing a book does help you with these types of things, and compersion was in our book, and you wrote a whole book. What is compersion? So let's get straight to it, because some people out there might be like, what actually is compersion? We're not talking about compulsion. Sometimes autocorrect too. If you type compersion in, it will say something else. So let's go to what is compersion, Marie?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, compersion is our wholehearted participation in the joy of others. So I'm happy that you're happy. In the more formal sense, though, me and my colleague Sharon Flicker last year came up with an official encyclopedia definition of compersion, and we had to break it down into 3 parts, because with what we find out, sorry, I'm going to say that again. What we found out in our research is that people are using the word to designate 3 different meanings. So the first one is the more traditional one, is the broad range of positive emotions that we might experience in relation to our intimate partner's other intimate relationships. So that's in the context of consensual non-monogamy. I am happy when you're happy with somebody else. Number 2, though, is getting into the range of thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors that we might experience in relation to our intimate partners, other intimate relationships. So that might be beyond an emotion. Maybe I'm not feeling happy when you're happy when, with somebody else going on a date, but maybe I'm showing up in a supportive way and I have a positive attitude about it. And then number 3 is expanding compersion beyond consensual non-monogamy and designating the broad range of positive emotions, attitudes, behaviors, and thoughts that we might experience towards somebody else's gratifying experience in any context. So I'm happy that you all are successful doing a beautiful podcast, and I have compersion for you.
Okay, so it's not negative.
No,
It's always positive.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'm going to comperge the hell out of you. Can you say that? No?
Comperge.
Well, language is fluid. The cool thing about language is you can totally invent words when you need them.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, that's why compersion came up, you know, like there was a community in San Francisco in the 70s that were experiencing this thing, this positive empathy towards their lovers, other partners, and they didn't have a word for it. Somebody made one up.
Yeah.
I think I just did too, Amy.
Yeah,
Right?
you did. I'm going to comperge the hell out of you.
I love that. Can I
For some
use
reason,
it?
my brain thinks of motorboating. I don't know why. That's what I see. So it can be all three of these things, so it isn't just in non-monogamy where you're going on a date or being intimate with someone else. It can also just be something that can be platonic and friendly. And I'll link that. So that is a question. There's a question mark at the end of that. And I'll add to that, what is not compersion, or what is compersion not? Or what are some of the common misconceptions around compersion?
So common misconceptions. One would be that compersion and jealousy are mutually exclusive. So I think it's easy to, as a shorthand, define compersion as the opposite of jealousy, because that's kind of a good way to see it. It's the antonym of jealousy, but can they coexist? Can they happen at the same time? Absolutely. I can be really happy if my partner is going out on a date with someone else, but also have a pang of jealousy at the same time. Like, we are very complex individuals. So that would be misconception number one. Another misconception could be that you either are compersive or you're not. Like, people are either jealous or they're compersive. And the truth is that compersion and jealousy will arise in context. Like if, let's say, like a partner of mine were to date person A, I might have more compersion than jealousy because I really like them. I really like their relationship. I don't feel threatened. I feel like maybe I'm getting some benefits out of that relationship, versus maybe they're dating person B and, oh my gosh, that is not fun for me because this person seems to be threatening in some way. So there's a multitude of reasons why we could experience jealousy or compersion, or a different combination of both in different circumstances, but it's not a binary.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just add another misconception, which is that compersion is only an emotion. And that is a really tricky one, because that's usually how people think of it. It's like, I'm happy that you're happy, and that is true, but it's really important to remember that compersion can also be an attitude. So we can express compersion and show up with compersion even when we're not feeling just like happy and gooey about it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hearing is that it's almost like the word fuck. It can be a verb, a noun, an adjective. It's right. I mean,
okay, Osho.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that video.
I know. It's like the most profound word in the world.
Really is, but now maybe this is shifting to maybe compersion is like.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Do you have compersion for Osho?
I don't. Who, me or Marie? That might be too. That
I'm
might be
not
too
gonna
personal.
go there.
Yeah, I knew that
That's
would be
a
the
trick
answer.
question.
Yeah. Never mind.
Oh, well, I was just thinking about when you were talking about compersion and you
Compersive.
right? Compersive.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking, I'm like, so this could be a verb, and it could be
what was the one you used? Comperge.
To converse.
Yes, exactly. So compersion could be compers.
And when you say
You can converse.
You could be
I'm gonna
compersion,
converse.
and you could be from Paris and be compersion.
Ça serait la compersion, quoi.
Exactement. Oh. Okay.
Got compersion? Vous avez de la compersion?
This is fun.
I love this so much. So
Why not?
So, yeah, voila, magnifique. So I think that talking to you not only is so much fun, this is enlightening for, not for the literary world only, but for the relational world. And in your studies, because you were one of the only doctor in your dissertation, you studied compersion on this level, and specifically in consensual non-monogamy, right? So E&M, now we call it ethical non-monogamy. You can call it consensual non-monogamy. Those are very interchangeable. And so you wrote this first ever book. So I want to kind of dive into this dissertation specifically on compersion in E&M relationships. What are the past and the current research findings that you discovered and uncovered and researched related to compersion?
So when I came into this field of study, there really was not much on compersion. Like pretty much all we knew is that compersion was correlated with relationship satisfaction in consensual non-monogamy. So it didn't really say, like, does it cause relationship satisfaction or is it a result of relationship satisfaction? That just kind of was it. And it was a very intuitive thing. Like, sure, like if it's a really good non-monogamous relationship, you would expect there to be also more compersion than if it's not a great relationship. So the questions that I set out to answer were, first, what is compersion? Title of my book. And number two, what are the factors or the elements that promote compersion versus hinder compersion? Because in my dating and relationship coaching, people would always come to me and ask, well, how do I cultivate more compersion in my relationships? Or how do I get my partner to experience more compersion for me in my other relationships? So that is really the crux of my research. And I created a roadmap based on that. I conducted interviews with a group of non-monogamous participants who had quite a history of non-monogamous relationships. And I asked them questions like, what are the circumstances where you do experience a lot of compersion? What are circumstances where you don't? What does it feel like to you? How do you experience it? How do you define it? So based on that, I created a whole theory of compersion or model to explain, again, like what compersion is and what factors impact that experience.
How many folks were in the study? If I missed that, I'm sorry. I was
so
listening.
Originally for my dissertation, it was 17. And then for my book, I interviewed about half of those that I could find again. So another round of interviews with 9 of these original participants from 4 years prior, plus another 7. So it was about 25 for the book, basically.
Okay. I'm curious. So are you noticing, because the non-monogamy is a little more like in mainstream media. It was, I don't remember if it was in the New York Times or New York Post or something. It was, on the cover, and, they were talking about The View. They're like, oh, no, yeah. Anyway, one of the women's like, I kind of like that. Then I don't have to have sex with my husband as much. I was like, okay.
And then she got shamed for saying that. They're like, oh my God.
You said sex. or not everyone wants to have sex with their partner all the time. But so are you finding though that because non-monogamy is becoming a little more out there in mainstream media or in the open, is the research or the information about compersion changing from when, you're the first one to kind of do this, but is it evolving?
Well, I would say that the information about consensual non-monogamy is very much evolving. About compersion specifically, there still really is not much. There's a few more research studies now, mostly led by Dr. Sharon Flicker, who was my co-author on that encyclopedia entry that we published last year. She has a lab at UC Sacramento, and she does a lot of research on that. So there's her, and there's a few more researchers in that field that have done some good research. So it's still very small, but we know a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
But really, we're still scratching the surface of the iceberg, really.
And it can exist in monogamous relationships, right? We're not just speaking to non-monogamy here. So even if you aren't a monogamous relationship, it sounds like compersion can exist. It sounds like it can exist in any relationship, really, right? It's sort of not just for people in the non-monogamy realm.
Absolutely. And I think that is so fascinating and such an open field of inquiry because we all have so many relationships in our lives, whether it's our family relationships, our colleagues' relationships, our friends, our social media relationships, where we might experience different degrees of jealousy and envy and or compersion. So to me, that is such a fascinating realm. Like every time that I feel myself experiencing jealousy or envy, I ask myself, like, why am I experiencing jealousy or envy? And what could it take for me to also experience compersion here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why am I jealous of this person? Like, why is this coming up? And, like, is there room for compersion or not?
So monogamy and non-monogamy are just, ultimately defined by each person or couple or whatever, because it's different for everyone. I might be in a monogamous relationship where even flirting with someone else is off the table. Even speaking to desire or feeling desired by someone else is not a part of it. Or I could be in a monogamous relationship where that is okay. And so I was thinking of how often, this happens where, so monogamous couple, someone's out, they're at the grocery store and someone comes up and like hits on them and, they're monogamous. So
Nice
they're like,
cucumber.
yeah. And they're like, oh, thank you. And then they go home to their partner and either don't say anything because it maybe isn't safe or something like that. Or they're concerned other partner respond, or they go to their partner and they're like, I just got hit on.
I like your melons.
No. Okay. So in the grocery store, someone said, I like your cucumber and your melons. And it felt so good. And, I just said thank you and walked away. And that other partner could be like, so the compersion would be, just to get more clarity, would be like, to feel into how good that must have felt for the other, that for them to receive that. And you're feeling that goodness in you for them versus like, not being able to feel any of that versus just going into jealousy. I can't believe that. Now I feel like there's a scarcity thing. And I'm hearing you say that you can have both. You can have, oh, wow, I'm really glad you felt that. And I do feel a little jealousy at the same time. Is that correct?
Totally. And within compersion, there could be different flavors of compersion. There could be oh, cool, I'm glad that happened. That must have felt great. That would be in the realm of cognitive or attitudinal compersion. There could be an excitement like, woo, high fives. This is cool.
Fist bump.
Exactly. That could be more like, behavioral, maybe emotional compersion. There could be also erotic compersion. There could be a turn on in the picture where like my partner gets really turned on by the idea that I got hit on at the grocery store and maybe they want to start making out with me now. That could be also in the realm of compersion.
Yeah, I like that. I like this thought process where you're kind of opening up your mind to not think of compersion as something that is the ultimate goal, but that you can have little stints of compersion working up to a bigger goal. Like if it's a grocery store or the gym or your partner's attracted to someone on the tele, right? They're like, wow, Margot Robbie is fucking hot. And I'm like, oh, what's wrong with me? Right. Well, and I'm like, wait, I want compersion here. So I had a question about your top tips for those who want to cultivate more compersion in their relationships, all of them.
So I'm going to talk in terms of non-monogamy because that's where I did my research and it's where people tend to experience the most jealousy and envy. And it can really be applicable to different relationships as well. But the main areas that I found that people can kind of address when it comes to cultivating more compersion are first, their mental frameworks or their mindset around jealousy or relationship. So in the case of non-monogamy, to be truly on board with consensual non-monogamy and to not do it from a place of just wanting to please your partner, but you're really doing it with the brakes on. So the more you're on board mentally with the idea that we can have erotic autonomy and we don't need to own each other. And again, that can apply to monogamy. Even if we choose sexual monogamy with someone, just being on board with the idea that it's okay if someone hits on my partner at the grocery store. So just to kind of bring your mindset on board with the idea of bodily autonomy and wanting to empower your partner rather than control them. Another tip or area that people can focus on is how full is my own cup in terms of self-esteem, self-security, relationship with myself, self-love. Am I getting my own individual needs met? Am I feeling good about myself? So if I feel good about myself, I'm not going to be as vulnerable to jealousy and comparison and thinking that there's something wrong with me if my partner is attracted to someone else. Or maybe in a different relationship, like if someone gets something that is good, it's not going to feel so threatening if my own cup is full. And then another tip or area of focus would be relational security. So is my partner and I in a good place? Do we have a foundation of great communication and trust? And do we feel solid with each other? Because the more we do, then the more we're going to feel like an overflow of generosity. It's the idea of having a full relational cup. And in that case, maybe my partner going on a date with someone else doesn't feel like it's threatening the whole foundation of my relationship. And then I'll end with saying community is really important, especially in consensual non-monogamy, because the more you have role models to lean on, the more your identity is validated as a non-monogamous person, the more you're likely to experience compersion, first because you're going to see other people modeling it, and also because it's going to feel okay and permitted and healthy and natural. You're not constantly going to be shamed by your community or by the rest of society because you're choosing non-monogamy. Mm-hmm. So the more your social cup is full, also the more likely you are to experience compersion.
Yeah, and you're speaking mostly to non-monogamous couples or relationships, and coming back to either it being that and or monogamous or some other variation, or just friendly, platonic, because you said that could be a part of it, right? You know, if your partner, let's go the monogamy one, the partner in the grocery store, and they come home like, I just got hit on, and you know, like you're saying, you're not able to feel anything beyond like, this is not okay, this is wrong, this is bad, you know, all that those parts of jealousy, and if you feel those things, have that, and have this other part of like, and I just feel good for you feeling good. But if I shut it down, though, it also creates a space where they're probably not going to want to talk to me more about that. It'll hinder the connection there, or even like platonic relationships. I remember a past partner, we don't say names, but a past partner's mom told me, past partner's mom, something about like me talking about someone in my life having these amazing job opportunities. They got to go to like fly to Japan. Someone flew them out there to go teach a workshop. And she's like, aren't you just jealous and envious? And I was like, well, yeah, I have some of that too. She's like, yeah, but how does it make it so you can even like feel anything else? And I was like, because I would like love that person. So
you're like stoked for them. You're like, I'm super happy for them.
But it wasn't in her, in her psyche. And I'm not offended because it's not me doing that. But if I had been the person that I was going to Japan and I'm telling her, someone in my life, and I say that, and she can only respond with like, I want to do that. I'm so jealous. And then there's nothing, I feel missed. I feel like I'm not understood. And in fact, like unseen is, and again, it didn't apply to that situation, but I would imagine that's what it feels like. So bringing this to a question, why is developing compersion in all relationships, but maybe you want to just talk about E&M, why is it so important or helpful?
Well, for me, it comes down to a philosophy of love. Really, like foundationally, what I think love is to want to empower the people we love to have great experiences, to be happy, to be successful. To me, that's the best and the greatest expression of love. Is to help someone else feel free, to feel like we're on their side, we're, like we got their back, we're on board with their path to having satisfying lives. So just philosophically, to me, it makes sense that we would want to show up with compersion when we profess to love somebody. It doesn't mean it can't be hard and challenging sometimes, because yes, sometimes somebody else's success can trigger our insecurities. And it's hard to feel anything else in that moment when we are just triggered and insecure, and maybe we fear for that relationship. But there's ways to move more towards compersion and feeling like we're on the same team ultimately. To me, that's what compersion is to be on the same team with the people we love.
Yeah, 100%. And I know you're the leading expert in compersion, specifically in consensual non-monogamy. However, what everything that you're saying, not only in this last answer to the question, but during this talk that we're having, is applicable to people that are in relationships, right? Just in a relationship with a partner that they've known for 20 years, with 2 months, it can be applied. I'm applying it to my relationship, and I'm in a monogamous relationship. Amy's in more of an E&M style relationship, right? But I know that we can both afterward actually apply them equally to our
We
relationships.
can apply it here.
You can apply it to our
Yeah,
relationship.
but you and I, like
Absolutely.
you have something amazing going on that I'm not a part
Right.
of. And even if
Yeah.
I'm like kind of jealous, I could be like, I'm so happy for you.
And meaning it. And that has been, I think
Yeah.
that is self-work, because I remember a time in my life where I was pretty miserable, right? And I was working too much and just really unhappy in a lot of aspects of my life. And I remember having, even before Amy and I ever started Shameless Sex, this is a long time ago, and she was having a lot of fun. And I remember I missed Santa Cruz. I was like living somewhere I didn't really want to live. And I remember being like, just super unhappy. And I remember doing work on switching in my brain how I felt about when she was like going to like Burning Man and all these parties. And she's like, oh my God, I was like all this. And I was like, shut the fuck up in my head. I was like,
didn't actually say that.
No, I never did. I was always like, God, she's having, and that's
We got in
what
a fight in a hotel room one night.
yeah.
Remember?
And I would like look, and social media would make me so sad. I'm like, everybody has an amazing life. And then I remember doing the work on myself and being like, April, these are people you love. You love Amy. You need to be happy for people when they're good. And it was work, because I honestly don't want anybody that I love to be miserable like me. That's fucked up. And that was a long time ago. That was more than 10 or 15 years ago now, but it was such
We
a
old
journey.
now.
And so I know we're old. And I just, so I'm really taking this home, this question home with, so I don't want to just say, because you're an expert with consensual non-monogamy, I want to talk about the questions that couples should discuss with their partner when thinking about compersion. And you can make it about E&M, but I'm just saying.
Right. Like, but yeah, broadening the lens. Yeah, I think what you said is so beautiful, April, and I am so on board with that, and I so admire that, like the idea of doing the work to really be on the same team with our friends and want sincerely from a real place their happiness and goodness. To me, that's what friendship is about too. So thank you for giving that personal example. That was awesome. So I think when people, partners, or even friends want to cultivate more compersion for each other, I think just to get into the practice of expressing joy for others, joy and encouragement and empathy. Really, compersion is based on positive empathy. And empathy means really like taking interest in somebody else's experience. So curiosity is really relevant here. And when someone, a friend or a partner or whoever it is, comes to me with curiosity and interest in my experience, with a real attitude of support and wanting the best for me, like wanting, like to be benevolent and wanting me to succeed, I instantly feel way more connected to them. And I want to reciprocate. Then I take interest in their well-being. So I think if we can all navigate our relationships with that compass, with that North Star of like, let's take interest in somebody else's experience and take interest in their well-being, we're always going to feel so much more connected to each other, whether it's monogamy or non-monogamy or friendship or a work colleague, whatever. Like, to me, curiosity and benevolence, basically.
Yeah, I love all these.
Love that too.
You're so skilled at wrapping things up in a way that lands, like the whole, like it's about like kind of being and working as a team, and then it being very much about like the empathy and love, all these different pieces that really resonates with me. I'm sure with a lot of our listeners. Can you tell us a little more? I know we're talking all about compersion, but so if someone were to buy your book, what is compersion? And you all should. I shouldn't you buy that book? But what can they expect? What is the deep dive in your book? What is that's a lot of what is compersion? What is a compersion? Yeah. You know what I mean, right? Hopefully. What can they expect?
So there's 3 main sections in the book, and all of these sections are illustrated with stories and quotes of my participants, which is really the fun part. It's, like getting to hear those people's voices who I interviewed, and just like such heartfelt expression of their experiences. But the first section is about what is compersion. And there I break down what are the components of compersion, which, I talk about empathy at length. I talk about gratitude at length. And I talk about the different flavors of compersion, like how does it show up in different ways, different relationships. I just gave a lot of examples about that. And then the second section is the roadmap to compersion. So what are all the factors that promote compersion? What are the elements that hinder or block compersion? How do you basically assess your relationship ecosystem, so to speak? And that can apply whether you're in an E&M ecosystem with your partner's other partners and a polycule, or if you're in a monogamous ecosystem. So being able to assess, where do I have strengths and where are there bottlenecks? So maybe the bottleneck in my compersion system is at the individual level, like my cup is not full. Or maybe it's the relationship, like there's not enough trust, not enough communication, whatever. But this is kind of the roadmap that I came up with. And then the third section is more about the social factors that impact compersion. So I talk about identity development as a non-monogamous person and how it's still stigmatized and marginalized in our society to be non-monogamous, and how to use the power of community to kind of mitigate that. And I also talk about compersion as it relates to age, sexual orientation, race, socioeconomic background, disability status, and gender. So I did all this research for the book that's not in my dissertation. So it's very, very novel, very interesting, and full of stories.
Wow, sounds like a lot. And the book's doesn't seem that long.
It's like 300 pages.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Not a 600-page weapon.
Because with all that information, you would think, because there is so much packed in there. And that's what, just bringing that to everyone's attention. So this sounds like a book that isn't just for, because I don't want it to segment it just for folks that are either curious about consensual non-monogamy or experiencing a relationship that is in the E&M realm. So it sounds like it's for anyone: monogamous people, single people, people that want to experience or develop compersion in their relationship. So where can you find the book, and what are your current offerings? And then if people want to find you or work with you and seek you more of your amazing knowledge and expertise out, how can they do that?
Absolutely. So thank you so much. This book, What is Compersion, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Rowman and Littlefield, which is the publisher's website. You can just Google the title also. You'll find it easily. And you can find me and my offerings at mariethouin.com or at my Instagram at Dr. Marie Thouin. I am a dating and relationship coach, and I love working with people. I just love working with people either one-on-one or in relationship settings. You can be with your partner or maybe with two of your partners. That's okay too. And you can book a free 30-minute introductory session there. And for people who don't really love to read that much, I also have a video class on compersion, which really encapsulates the most applicable wisdom of the book. And that is also on my website, mariethouin.com, or on whatiscompersion.com.
And do you have the audiobook too? Can people just listen to what is compersion?
Unfortunately, not yet.
Not
my
yet.
publisher is saying like, we have to wait a little bit for, I don't know, the sales to
AI development
go up. So I hope very soon we'll have an audiobook, because I'm a fan of audiobooks myself.
Yeah,
me too.
Well, you have the video course though, so that's that's helpful too. And the
Ooh.
future is video, so
Exactly. And one last thing I forgot to mention, I also have a worksheet that I created based on my research. And that is an assessment tool for people who want to assess what are their compersion strengths and weaknesses. It's really fun. It's 46 questions, and then you can compile your results and see like, where are your bottlenecks? What could you work on if you want to cultivate more compersion? So that's also on my website.
It's fun for doctors, probably. I think it'd be fun for everyone, though. I mean, you're like an educated human. You're like, it's really fun. Some people are like, I don't know. It sounds like calculus and algebra, which could be fun. Wasn't fun for me, but that sounds fun. Doing the work and actually seeing it in that form that's what you have to do. It's like journaling. You don't want to do it a lot of times, but you need to, right?
And at the end of this, because you said it's about love and empathy, like there's only good stuff on the other side, y'all.
And if you need extra motivation, it could save you hundreds of dollars in therapy.
That's true.
If not thousands.
Valid.
Probably thousands. I love that. Yeah. Good job, Marie.
It's only $27. Yeah. There's no reason not to get it.
Steal.
That is such a good point. Yes. Everybody go and get What is Compersion by Dr. Marie Thouin. Thouin. I want to say it en français. Thouin. She's Quebecois, everyone. I love Quebec is amazing. Well, Montreal. I don't know where you're from, but all of it's good to me. And anyway, I won't be practicing my French on anyone here anymore. I will be practicing my English and my invitations to our listeners about rating us on your favorite podcast app. We're working on more video, but we need you to tell your friends and your family and whoever you love that you love Shameless Sex too. So rate us because it only helps more folks find Compersion and Compersion and Dr. Marie Thouin. So we really love each and every one of you, and we give you 5 stars every day of our lives. So comperse with us. Comperge with us.
I'm going to comperge the hell out of you.
I'm a motorboat comperge you.
Comperge, son of a bitch.
And we will see you next Tuesday. Thank you, Marie Thouin. Merci beaucoup. You are amazing, okay? Thank you. And we love you, everyone. Check us out on YouTube because we're here as well. See you next Tuesday. Ciao for now.